How do you make a monster? What's it like to meet your own corpse? And can Bill Skarsgård really do that with his eyes? He has everything you need to know about the special effects of It. If you're wondering how Bill Skarsgård transformed into Pennywise, the answer is simple: by spending a lot of time in the makeup chair. Most of what you see in the final film is simply Skarsgård in prosthetic makeup. CGI is only used when Pennywise undergoes a transformation or his mouth does things that no person's mouth ought to do.
Come back and play! Come back and play with the clown!
Yet, there's one creepy aspect of Pennywise that didn't require any makeup or CGI: the way his eyes seem to point in two different directions. Director Andy Muschietti knew early on that he wanted Pennywise to have that wall-eyed look, and he was planning on using VFX to create the effect. But it turned out that Skarsgård could already do it. Looking back, Muschietti was astounded by this coincidence. He told Digital Spy, "What are the chances? It's 1 in a million, and he was cast already." In the book The World of It, Muschietti recalls telling Skarsgård, "Good job, man. You just saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars." Although Pennywise's kill mouth is CGI, the rest of the time you're looking at a practical effect. Bill Skarsgård had to wear various sets of fake teeth for the movie. Barbara Muschietti, the film's producer, explained that these fake teeth had one unfortunate side effect.
The teeth made him slobber like crazy.
This was completely unintentional, but the filmmakers decided that it fit Pennywise's character perfectly. Soon, the makeup crew began augmenting Skarsgård's drool with a special substance they called slime. In fact, the drool was so profuse that Skarsgård would get it all over his fellow actors.
He drooled and he got it on my lips, and then after the take, I thought it was my own drool, so I'm like this.
Hey guys. Was it delicious?
It was terrible.
In one sequence in the first It movie, Georgie goes down into the basement and makes a horrifying discovery. For this scene, the filmmakers flooded the set, and Bill Skarsgård climbed down into a trench filled with water. From there, he shot countless takes of Pennywise half submerged in the water. Andy Muschietti later told GQ, "I have to give a shout out to Bill for enduring that situation, because he was submerged in horribly dirty water for, 4 hours? To create the effect of Pennywise springing out of the water, Skarsgård was pulled along a wire that rose out of the trench." There's a moment in It when hair seems to leap out of a drain and wrap itself around Beverly, and this scene was actually shot in reverse. Sophia Lillis told Screen Rant, "It looks like the hair is coming up. It's actually me trying to get out of the hair." Practical effects are also used to blast Beverly with a stream of blood from the drain. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Lillis recalled that the fake blood was sweet-tasting and slippery. She said, "I fell while sitting down, which I don't know how that's even physically possible." This flood of blood was so violent that the filmmakers needed to swap Lillis out for a stunt double for a moment of impact. Lillis told Entertainment Weekly, "They were going to use me for that, but they decided they had to use a stunt double because the impact was like a whack with a baseball bat." You'd think that any kid would be traumatized after playing a character who's slaughtered by a shape-shifting clown. Not Robert Jackson Scott, though. In fact, he was pretty casual about the whole thing. In a behind-the-scenes clip from the making of the movie, you can see Scott hugging a life-sized replica of himself. The doll looks just like him, except of course it has the rotting face of a corpse.
I'm standing next to my dead self.
Kudos to the kid for not even flinching. More than that, though, he seemed positively excited about getting to meet his own corpse. It took a fair bit of technical wizardry to create the scene in which Pennywise appears to climb out of an image cast by a film projector. First, they shot the kids reacting to a giant cardboard cutout of Bill Skarsgård. Afterwards, they filmed the exact same scene again with Bill Skarsgård on a green screen set, which was scaled down to make Pennywise seem gigantic. Speaking to DGA Quarterly, Andy Muschietti explained, "We replicated every angle on that tiny set, with eyeline references for each kid using little sticks. When the camera started rolling, Skarsgård crawled through a wooden frame meant to stand in for the projector screen. From there, he had to respond to the director's cues, since the other actors weren't present. Finally, the two scenes were combined digitally, creating one of the movie's most disturbing jump scares. For the scene in which Pennywise unfurls his twisted body out of a refrigerator, Bill Skarsgård didn't need to do the same, thankfully. He simply emerged from the fridge on a harness and let the animators do the twisting in post-production. But the filmmakers did enlist a contortionist to use as reference for Pennywise's movements. The filmmakers used a similar technique in It Chapter 2, when the characters find Stanley's body inside the fridge. Later, when Stanley's head rolls off and sprouts spider legs, the crew used a lifelike prop head that was enhanced with CGI. Whenever the spider head attacked one of the characters, the prop head would be attached to the actor's head with bungee cords. So when you see Bill Hader's arms straining in the second film, it's because he's pushing against a real physical prop. As it turns out, not a lot of Pennywise's lair was made with VFX. The filmmakers built much of the set you see in the final film, from the sewer tunnels to the clown wagon. The sewer set even had real water running through it. Meanwhile, the pile of toys from Pennywise's victims stood about 30 feet high. The filmmakers merely extended the cistern and the heap of toys, using VFX in order to make them appear larger. And the floating bodies of dead kids, thankfully those were CGI. Animation supervisor Ivan Jardel told ACM SIGGRAPH, "We had to create a lot of poses of floating corpses, then work to chop off limbs randomly. It was both fun and creepy to do." Most of the lead cast members were 12 or 13 years old in the first It movie. When it came time to film the sequel, however, they had grown up by a few years, so special effects company Lola VFX needed to use digital de-aging technology to make sure audiences wouldn't notice the difference. Lola VFX typically works on de-aging adults, so using this effect on children was a challenge for them, especially because teenagers grow up so fast that a VFX team can't keep up with them. Jeremy Ray Taylor had also become slimmer since the first film, so they used CGI to round out his face. Meanwhile, Finn Wolfhard had gone through a growth spurt. Although he had been one of the shortest of the losers in the first movie, he shot up to become one of the tallest, so the effects team needed to hide his height and change the shape of his jawline. And as the VFX team worked their magic, the actors needed to remember to act their characters' ages.
I had to remind them that they were not 15 in the fiction, they were 12.
Remember the scene where Eddie encounters the Leper and gets a face full of vomit? Despite fans' complaints that the Leper scenes used too much CGI, this effect was actually practical. In both films, the Leper was played by Javier Botet, who wore a bodysuit and a mask for the role. For the moment in which the Leper spews his vomit, the effects team built a special vomit dummy with a tube running up its body.
Andy loves vomit. He just wants to honor it, so...
And honor it he did. Andy Muschietti and James Ranson stand in the stream of fake vomit for a full 5 seconds. Ranson actually nearly passed out because the puke in his face made it so difficult for him to breathe. You may be relieved to know that Bill Skarsgård did not actually transform into a giant spider clown to film the climax of It Chapter 2.
It's always scary, I think, for an actor when it's all in the hands of VFX, because you don't know how it's going to look.
Skarsgård filmed all of Spider Pennywise's movements on a separate set, complete with little poles to stand in for the other actors so he would know how small they'd look compared to Pennywise. Instead of clown makeup, Skarsgård only needed to wear motion capture dots on his face so the computer could record his facial movements. Luckily, Skarsgård still got to properly participate in these sequences, while the actors were running in terror from a giant cardboard cutout of Pennywise's face. Skarsgård was backed by the monitors, delivering his lines into a microphone from off-screen. In what may well be the bloodiest scene in movie history, It Chapter 2 shows Beverly trapped in a bathroom stall as it floods with blood, requiring 4,500 gallons of fake blood. This sequence needed to be carefully planned. If the filmmakers made a mistake, they'd need to drain away all the blood and start over. For her part, Jessica Chastain wasn't happy with the director's original plans for the scene, saying it wouldn't be as scary if the blood only went up to her chest and then stopped there. Andy Muschietti had initially assumed Chastain wouldn't be comfortable taking a dunk in fake blood that went over her head, but he underestimated her commitment. In an interview with Cinema Blend, she recalled thinking, "Let's make Carrie on steroids." When she was up to her neck in the blood, however, Chastain began having second thoughts about her decision.
It was like in your eyeballs, and it gets in your nose and your ears, and you just feel it all over you.
After she was done shooting, Chastain walked over to Andy and Barbara Muschietti and hugged them, making extra sure she gave them a taste of their own fake blood. At the end of It Chapter 2, Pennywise starts shrinking and drags himself along the ground, but that's not actually Bill Skarsgård. For this moment, the filmmakers swapped out Skarsgård with a child actor dressed like Pennywise, allowing the monster to look much smaller than the kids in the Losers Club. Once Pennywise arrives at his final resting place, it's Skarsgård again, or at least Skarsgård's head. The rest of his body is a dummy designed so that Mike can reach inside his chest and pull out his heart. The filmmakers designed the set so that Skarsgård could be buried in it until only his head was visible.
He was buried in a hole. His whole body was inside the structure, so everything that he could move was his face.
Finally, the crew stapled the top of his Pennywise mask, which they called Pancake Head, to the set. This made it seem like Pennywise was melting into the rock. When Jessica Chastain filmed the scene in which Mrs. Kirsch transforms into a wild-eyed witch-like hag, she didn't need to play off a CGI creation. To the contrary, this jump scare was largely a practical effect, one that left little to the imagination. During filming, Mrs. Kirsch was actually played by Javier Botet in a rubber suit, complete with 2 mouths built into the old lady's neck. Only the finishing touches in this scene was CGI. After filming the scenes with Mrs. Kirsch, the VFX team took the actor's mask and created a digital model of it, so they could make her eyelids and lips move. Makeup designer Sean Sampson explained to Flickering Myth, VFX only really got involved for the close-ups, as well as the bits where the creature needed to talk.